right, so once we go, I'll starting to go live, and we'll be there.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're here. We're live. It's the UH football fan stream coming at you. It's 8 o'clock on the West Coast if you're out here. If you're in Hawaii, it's 5 o'clock. If you're in Dallas, Texas, the home of this guy where he was born and raised, one of our greats from UH football, it's about 10 o'clock, I think, right now. So we're going to say howdy to all of our friends in Texas, and we bring in one of their natives who we have adopted as our own and has been in our islands for a long time and has brought us such great memories and is here to talk to us some more. So I'd just like to send out an aloha to Darrick Branch. Welcome to our show, Darrick.
Well, thank you very much, Wayne. Appreciate it. Definitely honored to be here. Sure.
Well, Darrick, you know, when people hear your name, first of all, from Hawaii, they think about all these dynamic plays. It's like going back to your highlights and you see uh, kick returns for a touchdown and punt returns for a touchdown. I mean, what does it take? What kind of skill? Because we don't. That's not something you see every day, you know. But in Darrick Branch, we knew that anytime you got the ball back there, anything could happen. What does it take for a player to be at that level? That's what I want to know first of all.
Well, just like with any kind of special teams, kick return, punt return, it's all about, catching the ball first.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of guys on every level of sport that can gauge, a kick and properly field it. But, I had some great guys that taught me how to catch punts and kickoffs and, Coach Lumpkin, George Lumpkin, we spend a lot of time, every day before practice doing that. And of course, Coach Buzz Preston,
Mm-hmm.
those two guys, and Coach Seawalk, who was Jason Elam's kicking coach and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those group of guys, return men and kickers, we spend a lot of time together.
Well, you had some
So
great kickers and return men at your time. I mean, not only do you have Jason Elam that you play with, an NFL legend, you also had Matt Harding, who I got to catch up with a little while. But I mean, talk about just how dominant, really, how skilled you guys were all in that special teams unit.
yeah, alongside with me, my earlier years at UH, we had Jeff Seidman.
That's right.
So who was my roommate, of course. So you talk about the mentality of a return man. It's just a hunger to make a play for your team. That's really what it's about. Especially me. We primarily ran the ball for the most part, but fortunately, when we did pass the ball, a lot of times they did come to me.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, when you're on a level, playing D1 football, it's about making something positive for your team happen every time you touch the ball. And to me, it meant that much more to me to make something happen. Like I said, I only caught so many passes a game.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried to make something happen. But the kicking game, the return game. Not only do you make a big play, but you make a big enough play, you ignite that stadium.
Absolutely.
And that's what it was about. I think the smallest crowd that we had back in the day was like 44,000. And when you walk into a stadium like that, and you got like 44, anywhere between 44,000 and 50,000 people cheering for you. If that's not enough incentive to make a play for your team and for the fans, and I don't know what else gets you excited. But for me, yeah, it was all about making those people stand up and cheer. And sometimes we just needed a play,
Mm-hmm.
to get us
Mm-hmm.
going, to get us, to get the momentum going and steal back a little bit of momentum. And quite a few times we were able to do that. So good times make you feel like you did your job.
Well, talk about your journey and You started in Texas and you found your way to Manoa, and just talk about how that happened as well.
Yeah, I went to Carter High School in Dallas, Texas. You don't know too much about Carter High School. There's a story on Netflix it's called The Carter Boys. It talks about our state championship run in 1988 when a lot of obstacles. Some of the obstacles we created for ourselves by just not being good young men.
Mm-hmm.
That's not everybody, but a handful or two of guys, who just didn't make good decisions, and it made that journey, that road, quite tough. But after going to Carter High School, playing for a guy by the name of Freddie James, sometimes you don't even realize the guys that you play for, and what they really meant to yourself and the community until you've already played, gone along your journey, a little further. And I remember one thing that stuck in my mind when I was going to Carter High School. But this is after all the games are over with, and you're trying to figure out where you're gonna go to college at. I remember walking to the coach's office one day, and he had a stack of questionnaires from colleges, and he's filling them out himself. He didn't. The guys are filling them out. We're not filling them out. He was filling them out.
Wow.
So I was like, Coach, hey, what you doing that for? He's like, I don't think that he said, no, it's not that I don't think you guys are doing it, but I think I wanted to make sure you guys are done right, so you guys don't miss out on the opportunities in front of you.
Wow. So
just a guy who cared, man, and understood things that we could not understand at that time. And so I got to play for a guy like him, and my receiver coach back then was a guy named Bruce Chambers. Bruce Chambers played for Hayden Fry.
Wow.
From the Iowa Hawkeyes. So, it's that mentality, right? Like being around winners, being around those type of programs, right? They put that in us, I think you can tell, you can ask anybody that I ever played with that, I was always talking, because I wanted to keep us focused.
Yeah.
On what was ahead of us, right? I want to bet you Travis Sims would probably tell you I got on his nerves. Squeeze that ball, Travis, man. We almost got this win, baby. They're gonna try to strip it. So so I think I learned that at an early age. Of course, being in Texas, being such a competitive football state, there's a lot of football teams, but not too many teams that can call themselves winners at the end of it all, right? So,
wow. So state championship. This was in Texas. Did they have the classifications the way they do now as well, like a 5A or 6A, or how did that work back then?
We were 11-5A at the time.
Wow.
So, it's tough. It's not easy winning in Texas. It's you come across programs of all different walks. All different backgrounds, all different cultures, right?
Yeah.
But everybody wants to win. It's about who prepared the most. Who wants it the most. By the way, I missed the last 10 minutes of the last dance to be on your show. By the way.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's one competitor too. That's that you're similar to, and just that fire, that desire to win, that desire to make a big play every time, and that kind of captured that 92 team and your leadership there, and the people you motivated to do great things too on that team. And just talk about take us back to that season, and what comes to your mind first when you just think about that 92 team.
Well, first, I was just one of the many leaders on that team. Real leadership starts at the top. It started with Coach Wagner. One thing about that senior year, I came here to Hawaii thinking that we were going to win a number of conference championships.
Yeah.
When they first brought that recruiting tape to my house in Texas, I'm like, this team is not far from winning it all. It was exciting.
Wow.
They scored points. They moved the ball. They played good defense. You got guys like Mark Odom coming off the edge, right?
Yeah.
And, I remember my freshman year, man, that team was so loaded with so much talent. I guarantee you, we had more recognition at that time in the program. We'd have more guys that went to the next level.
Yeah.
But man, like, there were some great leaders on that team, and when you look at that film, I was like, these guys are just like one or two things away from getting to where they want to go. And the fact that they hadn't been there, right?
Yeah. And
you feel like you can go make a difference, that's what draws you to the University of Hawaii at that time. And of course, I grew up in Dallas, and went to you know, went to school where, you know, I went to all black high school, literally. If you want, you know, there might have been
Uh-huh.
about 4 or 5, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
but I think at a young age I realized that the world is bigger than Dallas. You know, so
Yes.
when I got the opportunity to visit the University of Hawaii and I saw the beauty of the island and the diversity of the people, I think that's what I knew what my future meant. You know, that's the direction I need to go into.
Yeah.
So I had no doubt when after I came here that this is the school I was going to go to. You know, had
Yeah.
no doubt whatsoever. You know, I went back home showing pictures and telling everybody I'm out of here. You know,
This is the beach. This
I'm
is Sandy Beach. I'm out of here.
I don't see anything being better than where I just came from. So
Mm-hmm.
so
And,
that was, of course, you know, but it started with the leadership of this program. Started with Coach Wagner, Coach Johnson,
mm-hmm.
Coach Duncan, Coach Preston. You know, Coach Mike Seawalk. Coach Mike Seawalk is actually who recruited me in Dallas, and you know, Coach Seawalk was nothing but a big old country guy, man. You know, and you know, we related. You know, we connected. You
Yeah.
know, and right away he won the love and you know the support from my family. You know, that was always big. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if that didn't happen, I don't come. But you know, that man did a great job, man. And when I came here, like I said, the leadership. You know, I remember on my recruiting trip. On my recruiting trip, I was with Jeff Seidner. I was with Jason Elam. I was with Travis Sims.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're all over at Coach Seawalk's apartment out in Pearl City.
Wow.
And we all looked at each other that day, and we all signed our letter of intent and agreed that we were going to come to the University of Hawaii together. So
Really?
um, that day,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So that was the beginning of a lot of, you know, if people want to say what was one of the key things in winning that championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course we had some guys that came along, but man, that year was that recruiting trip to me, I think, carried a lot of weight.
So what year was that you started at UH? Was that 89?
88.
88.
Yeah,
Okay.
88.
So that was the year
Yeah.
you brought up Hayden Fry's name, but that was the year we also played Iowa, right? That year.
Yeah. First game of the year.
Yeah. Talk about that game. That's a kind of a legendary game.
Oh man, no. As a guy coming in as a freshman, you realize that's your first taste of real college football. You know, D1 football right there. When the Iowa Hawkeyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm from Texas. I watched a lot of Iowa Hawkeye football, right? And man, they were the beast. They were a beast from the Big Ten. All right, you know, and it was I think for most people it could have been a little bit for most programs it might have been a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
But for us, they ran to a program that was too hungry to make it to the next level at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like I told you before, when I saw those films when I was coming out of high school at the University of Hawaii football program,
Mm-hmm.
it was, to me, it was just another step or two that the program needed to make. All right, and the program knew it, the school knew it, the fans knew it. That's why you had those fans come to the games, because they already believed in the program. They knew that coming to the game, it didn't matter who's gonna play, we had a chance.
Yeah.
And I remember my true freshman year, I had a great guy, man, who really was the perfect guy to show me how to adapt here in Hawaii. He was from my hometown, Dallas. He was one of my cousin's best friends, okay? and he was starting quarterback here at the University of Hawaii named Warren Jones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Warren Jones, like big brother to me, man. Warren Jones, Larry Jones. Man, those two guys, man, I remember coming on my recruiting trip and, when you meet good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was no doubt, when I met those guys, man, I met some really good people, man. And anything that they told you to do, any advice that they gave you, it's for your own betterment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about following the path, follow these guys' lead, and they'll show you the way. And that's what I found, and coming here, I found some good guys, like good leaders. I played behind some good guys like Chris Roscoe, man, rest in peace, Chris. Leonard Lau, a guy by the name of Jamie Collins. I remember all the guys. You want me to tell you the whole recruiting corps?
Yeah.
Chris Gaskell, Moki Hill.
Wow.
Larry Kahn Smith. Talking about a class act. I think that's what the program had. A lot of guys who wanted to win, but guys that did things the right way, the classy way. Yeah. And, and we came together, and it was a real family. It was a real family. And that was the beginning of us accomplishing what we needed to accomplish in 1992. Every year, those guys that played against us, before us in this program, man, they deserved it as much as we did. We came so close so many times. I remember playing in the Aloha Bowl against Michigan State. Yeah. Against Michigan State, right? And how loaded that team was. We gave them a run for their money. I remember playing against Texas A&M, which was, a really, impactful game in my life because I had so many, there were probably 8-9 guys that I played high school with that were on that team at Texas A&M.
Wow.
And, but what I remember most, I remember going back home after that season, and during Christmas time, and I remember going back home and running into those guys, and what they told me, that I knew that we had the respect of college football across the country, because they talked about how much their coaches talked about these guys are no joke. These guys are the real deal. Just because they're from Hawaii, they're not soft. If we go out here and play like we're not able to play, we will come back with an L. And then he named out the name, coaches would name out the names. Watch this player, watch this player, watch that player. And at that time, I was still so young, right?
Yeah.
And then they were talking about D, man. They were talking about you like you was a beast. I don't think I'm like a sophomore, bro. You know what I'm saying? I might call 2 passes a game, But, it made you realize that you were part of something special. And it was just a matter of time for us to break through, and like I said, I just wish we would have done it earlier. Those teams, man, they got us ready for what we were accomplishing in 1992, right? But I think that they were just as more deserving as we were, and really, we did it for them. We did it for them. They were part of that.
Well, you talked about a team, you referenced some teams that, really, like you said, there were some teams that were clustered around that year that really deserved it as well. We look at the 07 UH team, we talk about them a lot, but that 2016 was great, and there was a lot of players in that program that came through and really made it what it was, but also just showed their leadership. And in 92, we talk about you, we talk about Jason Elam. I believe Ma'atanu Vaso was drafted the same year as you, correct, in the NFL?
Yes, correct. Michael Carter, he wasn't our didn't come out with us in our class, but man, that young dude right there had so much heart. That's he came from a great program as well, Long Beach Poly. I had cousins that was in Long Beach Poly, believe it or not. And my uncle is a bona fide Long Beach Poly fan. Like I'm talking about cuckoo for the Jack Rabbits. He goes, it don't matter what sport it is, what sport, right? He's going to every sporting event he can that's along, and he's retired too, so I don't never hear the end of it. So,
true fan of the Poly. He was probably there at the Punahou game last year. I was there, Punahou versus Long Beach Poly. That was a good game. It was a big game.
I guarantee he was there. Guaranteed. Yeah. Guaranteed. So, but he, just to put it all together, what I'm saying, the connection, right? How everything is so closely related, but to come, part of the reason why we're such a successful program, we had 4, 5, 6 guys from Long Beach Poly. Wow. Guys that were used to winning, and that's what it takes, right? I remember, I hate to get off subject, but I remember, being with the Broncos in one summer. They were a football camp at the University of Colorado. And this was when Coach Neuheiser was the coach there. So I'm nobody, right? But I'm there with Alfred Williams and Terrell Davis,
Uh-huh.
some really big guys, right? Really big name guys. So everybody's in a circle and everybody's going around introducing themselves to the guys who are attending the camp, the young players that are attending the camp. So everybody's going there, gets to meet Darrick Branch, Carter High School, and all of a sudden, Coach Neuheisel stopped everything. He said, "You went to Carter High School?" I was like, "Yeah." That whole camp, right? I barely got to teach my position at the camp. Because Neuheisel, all he wanted to know, how can I get some kids from Carter High School?
Wow.
How can I get some, I'm like, you got to talk to, I think the same coaches are still there,
Yeah.
Go and talk to them, So, and the next year they ended up getting a really good linebacker from our school and stuff. So,
are you still the only person from UH? Were there other UH players from Carter as well?
I don't know any other guys that went to my high school that played. No. I remember that there were other guys that were being recruited with me that year. True story, okay?
Yeah.
True story. Coming on a flight on a recruiting trip, there was supposed to have been 2 other guys from my high school on that plane with me. I get to the airport, I'm like, where's Fred and John? All right? Nowhere to be found. All right? So I'm going. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, my mind is made up already. I'm going. So come to find out they were just scared to make that long plane ride. I'm like, man, y'all got to get over that, bro. Y'all missed out on a great
So they just didn't even show up to the airport. They just didn't show up. They're like, nah, we're good.
Didn't even show up. So just like so my point in this is that, I think at some point colleges, they know that you can teach all the athleticism, you can teach all the skills, right? You can teach everything it takes to play the sport, but you can't teach the desire to win.
Yes.
And I remember going back to my high school coach, there was one thing that he always made us say every day, whether it was practice, game, whatever. And there was this phrase, and I got a chance to go back home a few years ago and ask him about this. I'm like, because it always, stuck in my head, And it was a phrase we always said, I can and I will be a champion. And, that carries over in just more than sports, and that's what his whole purpose of getting us to believe that and say that every day was to get you to believe that, not just as yourself and an athlete, but also believe in yourself as a person.
Yes.
And believe that you can accomplish anything in life. I knew that's what he meant it, but I had to hear it from him. I wanted to hear it from him myself, and so I think that's what's. But when you go to a school at that time like Hawaii, or any school, right? You want guys that believe that they can win, and just like they say, losing can be contagious. I think winning is contagious too.
Yeah.
Especially if you make it a fun environment that guys can enjoy and learn to respect each other. In Hawaii, here it's all about respecting the culture and just embracing the island for what it is. And I think that at that time they did a good job of selling that to us. Making us understand the importance of it. And man, like everywhere you went in Hawaii, man, it felt like the people were hugging you. Like. And those were great days, great times, not just from a football standpoint, but from a community standpoint.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I mean, you're painting this beautiful picture of that time and just how supportive people were, and I know that same spirit exists on the island. I know that those people are still there and they want to embrace our team, but it just feels like the numbers are dwindling. It just feels like there's so few. You talked about 44,000 was the least amount of people you played in front of, and half of that is like normal right now. And talk about just your just what you've seen, and you talked about the community and really selling the players on it and selling the program, but what do you think has kept the program or has kept the fans out of the stadium like they were going back in the day?
I think we lose key local recruiting battles.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been, to me, the difference between our program when we played back in the day to now. And not to say that good players didn't go to other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember like that first game, that senior year going up to Oregon, playing against the Ducks. I remember they had several Polynesian guys. Was it Silly Malapi?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All right, I know I didn't say that right. I'm sorry.
But that was a game that Matt Harding blocked a punt, I think, right, in that game or something. It was.
Matt was always blocking punts. that little guy right there, man. It just just special people.
Mm-hmm.
But we had some. I think that's what it took. I think that our coaches were good at that time recruiting guys that probably wouldn't come now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think they knew that we were on the cusp of a breakthrough here at the University of Hawaii, and I think that as players who came here, you knew that too. You knew that this was about to be something special. And who doesn't want to be a part of something special?
Of course.
Who doesn't want to be a part of the first? And just one of the key reasons why I came here. Just wanting to be part of something special. The islands are special enough.
Mm-hmm.
The people and the aloha are special enough. But when you're winning,
mm-hmm.
That's just a cherry and a whipped cream on top.
Well, you decided to keep Hawaii as your home as well, and so that shows just how much you fell in love with the place, and it's a place that you called home after college and after your career. But just talk about what you're doing now, especially, and we know you're based in Hawaii, but you're all over. You're an international man of mystery now, Darrick. So you gotta fill us in on what's going on in your world.
Well, back to what you said, right, about calling this place home. You don't call this, just call a place home unless it's really like special to you,
Mm-hmm.
And the people, man, like I got to give a shout out to my man, like John Veneri and the Veneri family.
That's
man.
Right.
Man,
Yeah, shout out John, Mark, all those guys, the parents, good guys.
Auntie Mary, John Veneri Sr.
Mm-hmm.
The grandparents, man, I know all them.
I mean, you were just adopted into the family. I mean, you're just auntie-uncling like how we do, and that is so different that no other program can offer that experience to anybody.
Yeah, they made me feel like I was one of theirs, and I remember Garrett Gabriel and his family. So many, to just open their homes to us, fed us sometimes, but on top of that, the local alumni who were still here. Like I remember Kent Unterman playing like a really big role in a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
always being around. I remember the Nogas. I remember Al Noga and them, that whole family was legendary, but they, you just made you realize, like I said, you're in a special place around special people, and when you look back on it, it makes you very appreciative of the whole experience. But yeah, that's why I call this place home. I had an agent who passed away a few years, really good guy, played in the NFL, was well known here locally, for commercial real estate. His name is John Wilbur. John represented a lot of players, that played in the NFL. And, after, my football journey, he always told me, come back here. This is your new home. These people love you. They know you. Everywhere I go,
Mm-hmm.
people always ask me, what is Darrick Branch doing? Is he coming back here to live and stuff like that. So,
Well, Derek Branch, a lot of it, I had to go back to the comments real quick because Shane was like, Derek Branch had the best dance moves. So you gotta talk about those dance moves too, Derek Branch, because you don't see those out. No one's busting out those bust the moves now anymore as Bill Beth DeVoe type stuff anymore. I mean, you gotta
I
talk
don't
about
think
that.
they can. I don't think they can because we did too much of it. That's what I gotta say. Here's a story. Here's another good one. All right. Before every year, all right, the referees go around to Division I colleges, all right, or all colleges probably. I don't know, but I played D1, so I'm just gonna talk about it. All right, so they would come around and talk about new rules, okay, things that you couldn't do anymore, okay,
Uh-huh.
all right, and they never told you what you could do, but they just told you what you couldn't do, okay. So this was like coming up on my the senior year. So I've been dancing for years in the end zone already, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, I remember University of Miami was the hype.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The U, yeah.
Miami, Florida State, right? They were the hype, right? They had all the hype,
Yeah.
touchdown
Dion,
dances,
all those
right?
guys.
They were winning all the time, So
Oh, not Dion.
So I remember they came around with this tape and they showed all the dances that you couldn't do, any touchdown celebrations that you could do. And they were all Miami, except for two of them that were mine. Right? So everybody bust out laughing, man. Everybody, the whole team is in there. Everybody bust out laughing. I was like, so.
That's something to be known for. That's awesome, actually. Where they make it like a Derek Branch rule.
Well, I did. The real reason why, I believed in celebrating touchdowns, all came from my grandmother. My grandmother danced till she was 80-some years old and couldn't dance anymore. But I always talk about, Grandma, why you always going dancing? Why you always go down to the senior center and she's going dancing all the time, right? I go in there a couple times to see her, and she's the only one dancing in there. Everybody else in wheelchairs and walkers,
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she said, you got to learn how to enjoy life. Every day, everything that you accomplish is worth celebrating. So you get your chance to dance, you dance.
I love that.
So
I love that.
I dance for Grandma, That's why I dance.
Isn't it amazing? We do so much for our grandmothers, and we talk about that so much with our program because our intergenerational, the support that we have through the years, and a lot of those guys, our grandmas who are there in the stands, cheering on Derek, are not here today, and that's where they think about. They think about those golden era, and it's it's so incumbent upon us to continue to build their fan base and keep that generation going. But it's so great to hear all of these stories because it talks about just how powerful it is to be a part of something beautiful and unique like the Hawaii football program, and it has nothing to do with. Of course, you want to win, like you said. That's a cherry on top. Winning is a cherry on top, but being a part of this program is enough, and the island is enough, and I love that. And you've decided to make this place your home, and talk about what that's been like as well.
It's been awesome. I didn't come back until after I was done playing, of course. And the whole time I was playing, I only came back one time. I don't remember exactly why I came back. I think just probably just a vacation or whatever. But like I said, I had an agent, that John Wilbur was a Stanford grad. At one time, I think he coached special teams at the University of Hawaii. So, he always, like I said, always encouraged me to come back to the islands and call it home. But like I talked about the people like the Veneries and people like that, right? They make you want to come back to Hawaii. They want to make you pay back.
Yeah.
Some of those things that they did. I remember when I first got back, I had an interview with John Veneri, and I told him, I just want to do something special for the people of the islands.
Yep.
I don't. They don't owe me nothing. But I feel like I owe them so much. So, I remember, starting my own sports marketing program, company here, which is called Hawaii Team Sports. I started with a guy named Barry Villamil, who well respected in the community, being involved in radio, and a young lady who was in the military. Her name was Bianca Gabb, and it was all about just helping kids. You know, you can probably go online right now and still find this video that I put together. I talked about what I wanted to do with this company, what we were doing at the present time with this company. And I just wanted to give back, you know. So we started out with just basic stuff, you know, just football camps and stuff. And, you know, I got a lot of this because I worked for a guy by the name of Dwayne Carissa, one of the most respectable men in the whole island.
Definitely.
All right. And you know, he gave me some opportunities that a lot of people probably wouldn't have given me. You know, to be a part of, you know, ESPN Radio here, being a part of a company he had, which was called Hawaii Sports Network, which at the time they had all the rights to all the state championship broadcasts for all the high school sports. Right. So I got to be a part of that company. I worked with a lady by the name of Doris Sullivan, which a lot of kids know because Doris is responsible for sending a lot of kids to college.
Yeah.
All right, from the state of Hawaii. You know, along the way, you just learn from people. You know, I think that's, I think that's one thing that I was always, you know, not afraid of, is just learning from other people.
So you have you stayed in sports, but you also were able to grasp that administrative side and understand just how difficult it is to run leagues and run these organizations, and that really probably propelled you to where you are right now. And just talk about this position, you're CEO of CFL, and what that entitles, and just give us a little background on the league as well.
Yeah, administratively, corporately, like I said, what I learned from Dwayne Carissa and working for those companies here. I also worked for the Hawaiian Islanders Arena football team that was here. Okay, got involved with corporate sales and corporate sponsorship and doing community liaison work. I remember doing all the Rotary Club tours, right? You know, just meeting just well-established business people and them sharing with you, you know, what it takes to, you know, to be successful. And over time, you know, starting my own thing, having my own semi-pro football league
That's right.
in Hawaii for about 6 years. The Hawaii Gridiron League, which I'm still going to come back and do some stuff for you guys. Like guys are calling me all the time asking, T, bring it back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, I have not forgot. It will come back. You know, people, trust me. All right, so you know, yeah. So I learned a lot. You know, this is the foundation right here in Hawaii. I learned it all. And one day, Kelly McGill. All right, you know who Kelly McGill is.
Former player as well.
All right, one of my old teammates. Right, told me about this opportunity that some people wanted to take football to China. I'm like, China, you know.
China.
But one of my missions for Hawaii Gridiron League was all about expanding the game. You know, I remember having China as one of the countries that I want to take a team from Hawaii to. You know, we've hosted teams from Australia. You know, we were on our way. You know, to accomplishing the thing. So to me, you know, getting an opportunity to go to China and do what I've been doing there for the past few years was all part of, like, you know, just the plan. And unfortunately, I had to step away from Hawaii Gridiron League to do it. But we had probably about 7 or 8 guys from Hawaii playing in that league in China with us. You know,
wow.
I wasn't gonna not have that give that opportunity to the guys who I knew that could play the game and, you know, and believed in the opportunity I said I would give them.
Yeah.
So I started out just, you know, well, first of all, I remember Ron Jaworski, okay, Dick Vermeil, and a guy by the name of Marty Judge started this whole thing in China, okay? And they reached out to Kelly. Kelly said, D, this is what you do, you know? He said, this is what you do. So I looked into it, I said, yeah, man, I like this. That's, you know, I remember the first time I went over there and it was all, you know, it was teaching people what a football was, you know? These people some of these people never even held a football. There were some guys who came with some footballs. They weren't footballs. I don't know what these things were. They were like
rugby balls or something.
It was worse than that. They say, like, you know, China is the land of the copycats, right?
Yeah.
They copied the football, but it wasn't right. All right. Like this football was so light, like it was like maybe a little thicker than a balloon, and you couldn't throw it 10 yards without just, So, but we come a long way, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are people who didn't even know what a football looked like, and from even like people, their first experience was a football clinic at Beijing Sports University, which is one of the schools where they really focus on developing the future Olympians.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sports programs in China are totally different. Like if their schools are focused on sports, right, or that's where a large group of the most successful athletes come from,
Yeah.
right, then they put sports first. Okay. But that's just how competitive they are internationally when it comes to international competition, right?
Of course.
A lot of like team sports that if it's a sport not in the Olympics, they don't pay much attention to it. They don't invest much into it. But if it's a sport that is an Olympic sport that's on that international platform, but I think football. I remember being there that same week during this football clinic. And it was a clinic, like, we're talking about rules, like introducing, like, who could be our future referees, who could be our future coaches, who could be our future players, right? It was a full-on intro on and off the field about the sport.
Wow.
And, but I remember one of the, we will go and have meals, after everything, that every day, some type of government dignitary would come and meet with us.
Oh, wow.
And they said, this sport is important for our people. And that's because they, they were specifically talking about the men at the time, being a result of the one-child laws.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That didn't come into play. The more than one-child laws didn't change until probably about 3 or 4 years ago. But at that time, they still had the one-child laws, and they felt like men lacked toughness, knowing how to deal with adversity, getting knocked down and getting back up. They felt that was important for the future generations of China, and that's why they welcomed us with open arms and instantly became our partner. The reason why we're able to do the things that we are able to do in China because the government is our partner. So when it comes to red tape and things like that, we've always had a guy right there along the way. Everywhere we travel, that was a government representative that went everywhere with us.
Wow.
To walk us through doors. So, we knew we were onto something. We started, I started out just literally training players. That was my job. Come there, train players. The next year, they gave me a bigger role where I was the guy in charge of the module, that went out to all the coaches, that it included everything from, the skill level, on the field, the drills, weight room, nutrition. I spent a lot of time and a lot of heart in putting together something that I wanted to be a proper representation of what the sport was supposed to be about. And the next year, I'm head of football operations. Those first 3 years, we had we started everything with the university league. We were just a university league, and the reason why we knew we were onto something and we had to continue and go to the next level, not only because these guys had become hell of, some pretty solid football players. But man, like when you have your championship and you see one team over there just ecstatic with joy, or you see the other team crying.
Wow.
Right? Because it meant that much to them, right? You knew you had something.
Wow.
Right? That was the moment I was convinced. It took like 2 or 3 years, but that moment right there, I took pictures of those guys. Like that moment meant that much to me that they didn't know I took those pictures, but I took those pictures like leaning on the fence crying, guys hugging on each other crying. That's when I felt like we had accomplished, or at least like on our way to making the history that we wanted to make in China.
So is there a rule too for like the foreigner rule for your teams there?
Yeah, there are rules for foreigners. We're as the sport grows, we're actually like minimizing the number of foreigners that are playing.
Yeah,
and that's because this, in order for this sport to really get to the level it needs to come to get to those Chinese guys,
of course,
stars.
Yeah.
So, but we had key play Shane Austin.
Yeah.
Was our quarterback for our Shanghai team. And you're talking about doing a great job. Being a leader, and really embracing what his real role was there. Not only just to be like the leader on and off the field,
Mm-hmm.
but understanding that it was of vital importance to get these Chinese players' games elevated, and their understanding of the game elevated. Make them understand what a football family really is all about. Hats off to Shane Austin. He did it with a class act, and so did the other guys from Hawaii. Kimo Naehu, from kicked that Wapahu, and Kimo's been kicking everywhere in the indoor game for years.
Are you?
Matangi.
Oh.
Elvis went to King K. Kalike. He was on the team from King K. Kalike that won the state championship.
Wow.
From Maui a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had some really good guys, really class A guys.
Are
represent
you
the islands like they were supposed to be represented? The whole islands would be so proud of these guys, how they represent themselves and represent the sport.
That's amazing, and I love that it's homegrown. Like everything that you said too, you're like this is all island grown. Even your professional career was started right in Hawaii as well, and in terms of your non-playing career, but that's so powerful to know that you can create something and be a part of something that big. But obviously right now the whole world has been thrown a wrench, and we're talking about something that originated over in China, but is everywhere now. It's not a Chinese thing. It's an everywhere thing. It's a world thing, and we're all in the same boat. We're all living on the same planet. But do you have any updates, or is there anything? Because a lot of what we're talking about right now, especially for sports fans, is are we going to play football in the fall? And we may have the football games, we might have fans, we might not. But as fans, that we just want to be there more than anything is to have fans in the seats. But what are your feelings as we start to get inch closer to the fall?
Well, there's no doubt, that we're realizing how important sports is to our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's an escape from everything that you're concerned about every day. That's why we wear the jerseys. That's why we buy the tickets.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also what we're realizing how much of an economic impact sports has. It supports so many families. Look at the millions and the millions of dollars that athletes have donated during this crisis.
Yep.
These are our mentors. I believe that these men and women, as they move on through other parts of their lives, they become our future leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Because they understand, how important people are. They understand how important our fans are. We were talking earlier before we came on live here. Fans are. I don't know what the game is like without fans.
Yeah.
We play for the fans. Fans drive the game. We just talked about what it was like to play in front of 44,000 fans and what that meant to us here at the University of Hawaii. That same feeling, that same impact that sports has on people here in Hawaii, it has the same impact around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all right now feeling empty right now, but at the same time, you got to understand it. No matter how important sports is in our lives are most important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In our lives.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't know how much I would enjoy sports returning if I can't enjoy sports with those people that are important in my life.
Absolutely.
So that being said, we're itching and starving, if that's what you want to call it, to get sports back.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of us make our living off of it. I'm one person.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life ever since after football has been still you know making a living off of sports. Not only did I do football camps, but I did skateboard events, I did basketball tournaments.
Yep.
Before all this happened, we were working. My Kelly McGill, Michael Capone from Capone Productions. Um, we were working on some really big sporting events. One being a big 3-on-3 basketball tournament that's connected to USA Basketball and FIBA.
Oh, cool.
A lot of people don't know that 3-on-3
Yeah.
basketball is
Olympic.
a new Olympic sport.
Yeah.
And we've acquired some rights to some really big FIBA 3-on-3 tournaments, and we were going to do a big tournament, kind of like a tour around the country with the national championship coming right here to Hawaii.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
And so we're working with the convention center. We want to do this at the convention center, and we still have it tentatively scheduled for Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as things continue, I think, to improve, we can still shoot for that. But no matter what, if they say we can't do it this year, we can't do it this year. Just like in China, right? China was one of the first places, I think, and I think we all know that this is where it all originated.
Mm-hmm.
And we also saw that China was one of the first places to kind of get a hold of things.
Yes.
There's a few factors to that. One is that China is a communist country, okay, which means that they govern with a strong hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
So as a result of that, the people listen to the government.
Yeah.
Okay, but I tell you one thing too: the government does a good job of taking care of its people.
Yeah.
In China, despite what people say, all right, they take very good care of their people. If their people are in need, they find a way to take care of their people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't walk around in China and see a lot of homeless people.
Yeah.
All right, you don't see those kind of things. If you do see the panhandlers and stuff, you see them during the day, but at nighttime they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have somewhere to go. They have somewhere to stay.
Of course.
And they trust their government, no matter what it is. They trust their government to look out for their best interests.
Mm-hmm.
So when their government told them to go indoors and social distance and wear masks,
mm-hmm.
right? They did it. No question.
Yep.
And but of course there were people who didn't, want to be locked up. If that's what you want to call it. There were people who didn't want to be in quarantine.
Yeah.
But they abided, and as a result, look at their country. There has a few new cases that did pop up over the past few weeks, like Wuhan had, I think, like 15 new cases that popped up. What they do, they go back on lockdown again.
Mm-hmm.
And people can say that it's about control, but the Chinese people already have control of their people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So they did it because they care about their people. They did it because they put their people first. And I think that's what we have to continue to do here in America. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to get back to sports. We want to get back to the lives that we had. We want to get back to, we just got the beaches back open, the past couple of days. People were like, really being boisterous about those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there's a lot of mixed messages out there.
Yes.
I think that there's a lot of bad stuff being said about whoever.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I think there's one group of people that we should not ignore, and that's scientists.
Yes.
I think that if we don't listen to scientists, we're doing a huge disservice to our country as a whole. And I say that because these scientists have, they've, for years of studying in colleges, mm-hmm. all right, hands-on research. You trying to say they did that all for nothing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't take that away. So to question scientists and people like that, it's like questioning our whole educational system.
I agree.
And the importance and the
Mic
value
drop.
of it. That's like telling your kids that college ain't important.
Yep.
Right? That's like telling all these people who've done years and years of studying, doctors, lawyers, everybody who we talk about, that have done this extensive amount of studying to be experts at what they do, to take care of you every time something happens to you. That's like saying that, I don't need to go to him. Yep. I'm gonna go to the dude standing on the corner.
Yep. Big facts
he got
right there.
He got a better idea on how to deal with this. That's the message that you're sending. All right. If you continue to have that kind of attitude, as if like this is a hoax, or like this is not real. When you say that this is a hoax, when you say that this is not real, I'm insulted, because there's almost 90,000 people dead just in this country alone. All right, there are 90,000 families hurting, suffering because they lost somebody to something that a lot of people feel like could be prevented or at least minimalized.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's how
Did we lose Darrick briefly? We might have lost Darrick briefly, but maybe he'll be back. I'm not sure if his phone died or something, but we'll stick around and wait for Darrick to come back. I'm going to go back to your questions a little bit as well. I see some comments. Shane said, what's the story behind that triple stack wide receiver set that was unleashed against BYU in the epic game in '89? That would be a fun thing to ask as well. So I'll wait for Darrick, see if he comes. This isn't the first time that we've had people have their phones die or something drop, but while we wait for Darrick to come back, just a reminder, if you missed last week's NFL fan stream, now I'm on both sides. I'm a Darrick branch now. If you missed the NFL fan stream from last week, then I will tell you should go back and take a look, because it was a really great interview that we did with Sarah Tuolo this past week. And, I think that it's something that you don't want to miss. So I would definitely, if you want to check out a great interview, go back to the interview with Sarah Tuolo on Thursday, which we had, and it was amazing. You can find it on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Hawaii Sports Fans. Waiting for Darrick to come back on. We'll wait a little while, but we'll take some questions. As we talked about, Darrick was really poignant in talking about how important listening to scientists are, and that shouldn't be a controversial thing to say, listen to scientists. I mean, that should be how we all approach any issue that has to deal with science, is listening to scientists and people that study. And, and Darrick even said himself, he's still optimistic. Maybe he can do something in Labor Day weekend, and we know that would be really quick. But at the same time, those things are possible if we do what we need to do right now. Everybody take that responsibility to themselves. Social distancing, wearing your mask, these things go a long way. And he's seen them firsthand. He's seen it firsthand as somebody who makes his living, like you said, off of football. He needs the season to make money as well. He needs to have it happen. And he understands that it might not be possible, and it's something we have to live with. But at the end of the day, it's about the people, and the people who, obviously there are people that will survive this. Most people will survive. Most people, if you got infected, would survive. It wouldn't be a death sentence at all. But for the people that it is a death sentence for, it's worth remembering their families, 90,000 people that have passed already. But with that being said, I'm not sure if we'll be able to get Darrick back on time, and that's fine. But we'll take some questions since it's still our Sunday sound off. We talked about Shane Austin a little bit. Yep. The Beijing Bats. Wuhan Gators and Beijing Bats. I love it. If those are the real names, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look at the CAFL. But let's see. We had still going through the comments a little bit. I'm not sure if we're going to get Darrick back. We can check out to see if he's going to be there. But if you have any questions, I am absolutely open to hearing back from any of you. We talked about how, difficult it would be to put together something last minute. But if we can make it happen, let's make it happen. We all want football season to happen. We all want it to happen. But there are some hurdles in the way. But in the meantime, we can do things like talk about our great team and talk about how we can build off of the momentum. Darrick goes back to 90 or 88 when his first year, and he talked about taking it to the next level. I mean, the team was there ready to hit the next level. People think 07, we made it to the BCS, that was it, we broke through, but we were so close before that as well. And obviously the structure was different. The BCS structure and everything was different. Yes, Darrick is. I'll tell him right now. Come back. Come join us again. I'm gonna have Darrick come join us again. Come join us. So we'll see what Darrick comes back, but it was a great. It was a great lesson that he talked about. That Darrick talked about. He talked about like the. And here he's coming back right now, but just what that feeling was in the stadium, 44,000 people, and how incredible that was. But we look like we have Darrick back again, so we'll have him start his video. I have my video off right now, so if you can't see me, Darrick, via the Zoom, but if you turn on your video, we should be back. There we go. And then just turn it sideways. Like turn your, we'll do this. There we go. Or no, back to where you were. Yeah, back to where you were. Back to landscape. There you go. There you go. All right. No worries. No worries. It's not the first time. Don't worry. Not the first time it's happened.
Battery life on this phone is terrible.
But we where you jumped off, talking about scientists and how we're following, the advice as best as we can. We should. I mean, we have the CDC. I mean, CDC.gov. I would definitely recommend people check out that website. They're the people that are Center of Disease Control, and all of their recommendations don't look like big events is something in the near future for them, just given how easily the virus spreads and how they learn about something every day. They're always learning something new about how long the molecules stay in the air, about how easy it is to transmit. But with that being said, Darrick, I mean, do you see in China, are they talking about bringing back being able to have the team back this year? Oh, do we still have you? Yeah, I think we still have Darrick, yeah. I think your video just cut off real quick, but can you hear me, Darrick? I'm gonna wait for him to come back on. Well, when Darrick comes back, we're definitely gonna ask him about that triple receiver stack as well. Sean, where did you get your jersey? I got my jersey at the bookstore at Manoa. This is where they should be. Definitely the school could make a lot of money selling cool gear and stuff, so definitely support the team that way. So it's a big way to support the team too. Let's see if Darrick, I'm not sure if his phone cut off again. It might have cut off again. But if you folks have any questions, definitely bring it in. I already answered where I got my jersey from. So I love this jersey, by the way. I wore this jersey for the first time. This is my 50. I wore it for my 50th game in a row, and that was in Reno last year. And that's when we won 54-3 and beat Nevada Reno. So it was a good way to christen this jersey. And it's really cool. I mean, our gear looks good. Our logo looks great. We've had this logo for about 20 years now, and that mixed with our rainbow logo, our throwback, it's great. It can be marketed. It can be monetized in a way that can benefit our team, especially if we don't have games, especially if we're not going to be able to get into the stadium this year. So I'm fully behind selling as much gear as possible in the interim, and definitely directly from UH. So if you go directly to UH, purchase from them, the Manoa Bookstore, H-Zone Online, you'll be able to support our program. And a way that we can do that in the meantime. But Darrick also talked about, while we wait for him, to see if he can make it back on again. I know he said his phone died. But thinking about back then, our program and how many people, 44,000 was the least amount of people he ever played in front of us, 44,000. I mean, consider that. We haven't had a game with that many people. I don't know. I don't even know if we've had 40 since 2007. I'm not sure. might have had it 8, 9, 10 maybe. But I mean, those are kind of numbers that we just don't even fathom anymore for attendance wise. So it's something that we are definitely going to have to debate and ponder on as to whether being financially feasible as well, and being able to sustain our program is going to rely a lot on revenue that we can bring in, and missing that gate would be huge, and that's why it would be probably pretty difficult to play without fans in the first place as well, just because we rely so much on the money that comes in from that gate. But I'm gonna let it shot. Wear it every game. I want to wear this every game. Oh, thank you, Kaveh. I appreciate that. And a favorite piece of memorabilia you own? Actually, I think this megaphone might have been. Oh, this is from '99. So this is cool. '99 is one of my favorite seasons because it was our worst to first season, and I jumped on the field in '99 with my friend Brad, who's watching right now. We both just jumped. We were sitting in the north end zone, row R, section R, in the front row, and I remember Billy Volek throwing the ball in the corner of the end zone in overtime, the Fresno State quarterback, and he overthrowing his player. And I remember when the ball left his hand, I thought that they were going to score a touchdown. And when it went over his receiver's head, it was like second nature. We just jumped on. Darrick's back, so we're going to get back. We'll get back to Darrick. But in the middle, that's a great question. So this is fun because that team had a lot of great players on it. A really great quarterback as well. So as Darrick is joining us, we're having a show and tell. So I'm showing off my '99 team, who they all signed, or most of them signed my megaphone here, and that was a great year too. That WAC championship year. Number 68, Big Red. I actually tailgated with him at San Diego State about 6 years ago at a game. So one big Ohana. All these guys still close to the program, and of course Darrick Branch amongst them. So we're gonna bring Darrick back in. I think you're sideways right now. Is there a way for? I don't know if your computer, your camera is. There you go. Yeah, we'll just do that for now because I think you're. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. But no, that was a fun year. So we have Darrick back, but I'll talk about my megaphone later. But Darrick, just given that it's going to be so difficult to have large spaces anywhere. I mean, movie theaters. It's so difficult to have people in confined spaces. Are there any reports coming out for you in terms of your league and when they try, because you're indoor league too, you're not outdoors, right? So that's additional strain, that could be put on the general public health of the arena.
But the irony of the whole thing is that in China, a lot of people already wear masks and stuff like that because of the air quality there in China. So doing stuff like that for them is not that tough of a transition. Something that tough to get used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does change the game. You go into a sporting event with your family, you can't even sit directly next to them. And who knows what these new rules are going to be when it comes to major sporting events and things like that. But we'll adapt. We'll make our adjustments. We'll do what we need to do to give the fans what they want as far as like the experience.
Do you plan on having? Will you folks hold the season without fans? Is that a possibility for you?
It's a possibility. Will we play this year? I doubt it. And we just have so much more to do in China when it comes to preparation versus preparing for a season as opposed to like here in Hawaii, all right, things like that. We already have our own stadium.
Yeah.
Things like that. In China, to get venues and stuff, it's a lot of paperwork to go through, but also a lot of security concerns that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So but it will be tough for us to play again this year. Do we want to? have we shot down the possibility totally? No, not yet. I
Yeah.
think a lot of are being as optimistic as possible. Like we said, we do want the sport to return as soon as we can, but at the same time, we're preparing for the worst as well.
Well, in America, like you said, in China, you have your own challenges. In the U.S., we have our own too. And college and NFL have way different. And even within colleges, within the Power Five structure to the mid majors to everything FCS, we all have our own, especially financially, where it's so different. And do you see any of our leagues being able to hold or being able to bring fans back this year as well?
I would say this. I don't think there's anywhere that has done as good of a job as the state of Hawaii. The numbers speak for themselves. But I think that we have to maintain and be vigilant. I think that we have to continue to put people before the sports. What does that mean? Does that mean us not playing any sports this year? It's gonna be different in every state. As you see right now with Florida and Arizona, they're inviting the sports to come down now and start playing, and at least start preparing to play.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that's premature. And I definitely believe that it's premature in places where you still have a high rate of new cases. Until you start to see, the curve, as they say, flatten.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody's going to feel comfortable, or you should not even feel secure enough to say that we have control of this. So I think that as long as, I hate to say this, but as long as the virus is winning, I think that you have to approach anything where you're going to have any large amount of people very cautiously. But it's hard to not see something taking place here in Hawaii because the numbers are so great. We were talking about the 3-on-3 basketball stuff, which is one of the events that we want to bring here. And we're looking at Labor Day, like the numbers are so promising, but the real deal is that in order to do this kind of event, you're going to have to bring in people from other places.
Yeah.
And there's a risk. There's a risk right there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to jeopardize not a single person to potential infection because just don't know.
Yeah.
Like look at the differences in how it affects different people. Some people are asymptomatic. Some people might get one or two small symptoms. Some people are fighting for their lives.
Yes.
Some people die. So until you really know what this is, which I'm still not sure that we really know what this is. That's not my job. So I think we just continue to approach sports with caution. I believe that if anything is going to happen this year, it will be without fans. But what that does is that makes sure your advertising and your TV dollars a much more valuable to you. But you got to do what you can to give the fans what they want, what's missing out of their lives.
Yes.
And if you can do that successfully without putting them in jeopardy and not putting the players in jeopardy as well, I think that you're onto something.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the point. Like we saw with UFC, what almost happened with UFC a few nights ago when one of their fighters tested positive just the night before he was supposed to fight.
Yeah.
What if he had gone into that ring?
Exactly.
What if they didn't catch it? What if he just, it's just a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
And when you got these what ifs, I would lean on the side of caution and saving lives before I put anybody at risk. Yeah, even if the players, if it's just players playing without fans, there's just so many different moving parts when it comes to sports.
Yes.
Can you trust everybody to just go from point A to point B every day? All right, without the desire, not giving in to the temptation to go see loved ones, families,
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, boyfriends. You know,
Mm-hmm.
can you really trust that? You know, but like we talked about earlier, when it comes to fans and how important they are to me when I was playing, and now being a person who is in charge of an actual football league, man, fans are everything to the sport.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's the difference. Like we talked about, it's the difference between winning and losing. You know, it's the energy that fans give your teams and your players. You know, it's so motivating, so inspiring. Uh, they are who we play for. So to not have them there, and if it happens that way, it's going to be such an awkward feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you know, guys want to play. As you heard Chris Paul say the other day,
Yeah.
you know, we want to play. You know, it's something missing out of their lives too. That's what they've given their lives to.
Yeah. And even in the NBA, I mean, particularly in the NBA, they already started the season. They got a really huge chunk of the season. Let's face it, the NBA, we kind of just want to fast forward to the playoffs so much because the 82 game season is so long. And we know who stuck out this year in the NBA, and we know who really wants to win a title this year. And I happen to be in that city right now with two teams. And of course, they got to get back on it. But there's so many challenges we're seeing with the pro level that when you go to the college level, I mean, you're going to just compound a lot of those issues. But so much that we have left, like you said, to wait and see and see what we can do. But we're going to watch science. We're going to watch the data. We're going to watch the curve flatten. And hopefully everybody communally will take part in the public health, the eradication, the slowing down. We can't get rid of the virus. We know it's just not going to go away just like that. But there's a lot we can do. And before we let Darrick go, we're gonna let him answer some questions. We had a few ask about your playing days, and that 92 game or the 89 game against BYU is a game that people have been watching all over again because that game was just one of the greatest games in the history of. But can you go back to that game and just talk about that game for an instance? And then Shane wanted to know about that triple receiver set that came out that you busted out as well.
Yeah, Coach Johnson was a mastermind, man. You know, he created that offense. Mm-hmm. So he knew every nuance of it. He knew what type of players it took to make it successful, make it go. And we had all kinds of wrinkles that we could have broke out, against anybody.
Well, the double reverse pass, I always remember that play. I love that. That was like my favorite throwback back to the Garrett Gabriel would get it on the wing, throw it back. I mean, those are the fun times. But Paul Johnson looks like the mastermind behind all of those, huh?
Yeah, he had a grasp of it, like I said, and we just had to go out and do our part. One thing about that offense is we felt like no matter who we played against, it gave us a chance. Mm-hmm. And one thing that teams don't like, those defensive linemen don't like offensive linemen down by their knees blocking.
Yeah.
But that was part of our offense. You was going to face that, and they didn't like it. They didn't like it. So up front, that alone slowed down pass rush sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Or that slowed down guys from coming too hard. They knew that, okay, if I come too hard, this guy gonna take my legs out, and I don't want to do that. So that was one thing. But on top of it, there were so many different things you could change to. So many different audibles and things that we could go to based off what the defense did. Mm-hmm. And Coach Johnson made sure the guys who pulled the trigger, who made all the calls, Michael, Ivan, Garrett Gabriel, Warren Jones, Tomas Pimentel, John Howe. Mm-hmm. He made sure that all those guys knew what they were doing and what they could go to if there was a problem or something they didn't like. Mm-hmm. So like we talked about, it all started with leadership. It started about everybody being out there on the same page. And, but once we mastered the core of the offense, which is why you want guys in the program for 3-4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as they are in the program, they the more they're in the program, the more they're out there practicing and going through what the sport, what this offense teaches them. The more they learn, the more they grasp, and you can build on it, you can expound on things, you can do more. And yeah, we got to a point that where it was so. We knew it so well, like the back of our hands, that we could make different adjustments and line up people in different places, and it could still work. So that was just good teaching, man.
Mm-hmm.
Good game planning.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff works because you practice it and you game plan it, and you do it at the right times. A lot of teams have a lot of trick plays in their arsenal, but they also aren't patient enough to hold on to them until the right time to use them. So, Coach Johnson, he wasn't that kind of guy. He knew he was brilliant, man. This guy, he was brilliant, and he already retired, but still a guy that I like to get inside his head and learn a little bit about football.
Well, I mean, a lot of those guys continuing his legacy are your teammate Ivan Jasper, and a guy who was definitely and always a name that pops up in coaching ranks. A lot of those guys from back then continuing the tradition. Shane brought up the fumble, Ruski.
Kenny Niumatalolo.
Yes.
I can't believe Kenny Niumatalolo, man. Like, man, if it wasn't for Garrett Gabriel or Warren Jones, he'd be the guy we'd be talking about.
Yep.
He was that good, man. Like really, just like with Ivan and Michael Carter. Like I think we both knew that. We all knew that we could win with either one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with Kenny Mott. Kenny Mott was the same kind of dude, prepared, had all the skills, and he had some games where he had some games when he did get to play.
Yeah.
So it's just about just being ready when you got the opportunity, and that's our coaches did a good job of that, and they made sure that our guys were prepared. Of course, when you're not, you don't play very much. When you get your shot, you hungry.
Yeah.
But we always felt like we had something to prove. Like even that year when we beat Iowa, our first, the first game of the year.
Yeah.
And we had a really good season that year. And and then the following year, right? We felt like instead of going to the Aloha Bowl, we felt that we should go to a bigger bowl game. But we felt like we didn't get the respect.
Yeah.
So as the years went on, especially my senior year, not only was there a hunger and desire to finally deliver what we were brought here to do, was to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
It was about respect. They literally slapped us in the face that year. In the preseason poll came out, and we were ranked 8th in the conference.
Wow.
We almost beat Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We had the ball. A lot of people don't remember that, but we had the ball last that game.
Mm-hmm.
We just ran out of time.
Yeah.
Everybody there, but when that game was over, I remember us going back into the locker room, and we were so frustrated because we were like, we got another minute, we win this game.
Yeah.
So we used that as our fuel going into the next year. And one thing that I really liked that year during the off season, I think that was one of my first summers that I stayed here the whole summer. I didn't go home. I just really wanted to dedicate myself. And there were other players like Michael Carter, we talked about, was another guy who stuck around the whole summer. Carlos Anderson. We just trained all summer.
Yeah.
And it was a hunger, man. It was like, oh man, we got it. We're better than this. And we used that Notre Dame game. There were several other games that we should have won that year. I think we tied Air Force 17-17 here.
Yeah.
I think that game sticks out in my head because it's kind of personal to me. But
tell us about it.
I think that's the only college game I played in I didn't catch a pass.
Ah, interesting.
And at that point, I was on the verge of breaking a record as most consecutive passes in a game or something like that. So,
wow.
and I did really really upset me. You know, so but like so you have little things like that happen throughout that year. You know, I think we were 4-7-1.
Yeah.
And man, like that it could have easily been 7-4 and whatever. You know, that's how close these games were that we would lose.
Yeah.
So you know, that extra time that guys stayed back that summer and put in, that was a catalyst in us winning. You know, becoming who we were in 1992. You know, when you put in that kind of time when you don't have to, you learn a lot about each other.
Yeah.
You learn that like they always say, it's about who you are when nobody's watching. What kind of person are you when nobody's watching? What are you doing when the cameras aren't on? And
it's hard nowadays because the cameras are always on. It seems like even if it's not a media, it's your own camera or your friend's camera. It's like there's that need as well to always show, what you're doing. Whereas back then, you guys were just running hills and doing what you needed to do. But that culture has certainly changed a little bit. Do you still have your '92 championship ring, and do you still wear that?
Yes, I do. Hold on.
Yeah, let's see it. Good question. So Darrick's gonna go grab his ring so he can take a look at what it looks like. What a great story. So if you have anything else while we still got Darrick, definitely leave a comment. Great stories that we talked about. The foundation really of this program and where it is in our stories, from our fan stories, our player stories, and this is what we're trying to embrace and proliferate and bring back is our storytelling around our program. And here we go. There's a ring.
There it is.
Wow. Talk about it a little bit. Whoa, that's cool. That's cool. I like the logo on the side like that.
Yeah. Got the logo on the side. You see it? Oh, I'm a little too far. Okay. You got the logo on the side and the helmet number.
Ah, that is so cool.
Rings didn't quite get fancy and big and crazy until after we were playing. But,
yeah, I like it. It's good.
Believe it or not, I never wore this ring ever. I have never worn this ring.
Wow.
Because this is like a trophy to me. It's something that you don't ever want to lose it. You never want to never want to lose its significance.
Yes, of course.
So I keep it in a special place. Stuff like this.
Oh, that's so cool too. That is neat.
Yeah.
I'd love to see those.
Things like this, they mean stuff to you. So you keep them in nice, special places, and we get back on them sometime and just reminisce.
Do you have your jersey? You have your jersey from '92 as well with you?
That jersey, believe it or not, is at my mom's house.
Okay.
Back in Texas. You know what I'm saying? So I still got a lot of memorabilia and stuff all over different places and stuff. So
well, that era is it captures, especially the logo and your uniform design. It captures the essence of what it felt like to be a fan back then and watch the team. And we've been talking about we want to see those back again. I mean, would you love to see the throwbacks back out?
Absolutely. I thought they were fresh the way they came out with those. They looked really nice.
Yeah.
And then if I'm not mistaken, there was a thing about uniforms and stuff that came out just a little while ago, and that uniform was voted across the country as one of the favorite uniforms.
It was. Yeah, our road uniforms we rode one time at Ohio State, and they were so fire.
Yeah. They were hot, man. They were hot. I would definitely like to see them more, but I also, a lot of people maybe you don't know. I'm pretty sure the local people know. I'm pretty sure the local people know, but a lot of people, the new fans or players, they might not know. It's what the rainbow means. I learned this in Hawaiian history. All right, when I was going to UH. All right, they talk about the significance of the rainbow. All right, and so what I've learned over time is that King Kamehameha's elite army were the Rainbow Warriors.
There you go.
Right? They were like the Secret Service today, or like the Navy SEALs of today. Anything broke out, these guys are the first ones to get dispatched.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to go out there and see what's going on. Right, and the Rainbow Warriors were King Kamehameha's first line of defense. So
That's awesome. I love that.
So,
See,
so when I learned that when I was in college, it gave me a whole other sense of pride when it comes to wearing that rainbow. So it made you realize that I represent the people of Hawaii.
Absolutely.
And the history. So I like to see the rainbow be a more significant, more permanent part of uniforms. Because that you know, and I think that's another way of also getting back to that fan base that we used to have such a strong relationship with.
I totally agree. I was just waiting for that to settle because that is exactly true. And there's so much culture, so much meaning. Like you said, there's so much like nuance in everything about football. It's not just guys hitting each other on the field. It's off the field. It's on the field and just not even playing. It's the guys who didn't get out there very much, who I know had a huge part of the success of our program as well that we don't talk about, and the band and marching band, all the people that made that experience at the stadium what it was. Do you want to talk about that? I don't want to keep you too long, but that '92 Holiday Bowl game. I mean, that's another game that goes back. I mean, what are your memories that you take away from that game particularly?
Well, University of Illinois. I was this close to going to school at University of Illinois out of high school.
No way.
So, yeah. I made a verbal commitment to the University of Illinois.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
But when I came to the University of Hawaii on that recruiting trip, over. It was over.
Bye, Illinois.
Yeah, it was over. Like I said, when you have guys like Mark Odom and Larry Jones, Warren Jones, they hosting you on a recruiting trip,
mm-hmm.
It has a lot of influence. So when we played that game against the University of Illinois, I remember a lot of, the word had got out that I, initially was supposed to go to school there. So a lot of the media and press were asking me a lot of questions about it.
Ah.
So I was looking forward to that game.
Yeah.
I really was. But during that week, man, I almost didn't get to play. I don't even know if a lot of people didn't know, but I almost didn't get to play in the Holiday Bowl.
Really? No.
Yes, because earlier during the week, we had a practice,
uh-huh.
and we got a couple of guys about to fight each other. Right? We had got out there and had like a real physical practice in a while. The game was coming up. Tensions were high, and so a couple guys got into a little scrap. I tried to break them up, and in the process of trying to break them up, I step in a hole and I twist my ankle.
Oh. This is at the field, the practice field.
So that's not even what kept me out of it. What almost kept me out of not playing, is that I put ice on my ankle, and I put the ice on too long, to the point to where it froze some nerves in my ankle. I could not move my ankle.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I could not move it.
Pulled an Antonio Brown way before.
I'm not going to even get to play, man. I didn't know I was going to play, or if I could play, until right before the game when I taped up and I went out there and I gave it a try. And I still wasn't 100% in that game. Like, I was like just really focusing on trying to like keep good technique, trying to make sure my foot planted and landed the right way every time I ran, because I feel like I didn't have complete control of my footing. So, I remember like getting like a punt or a kickoff early in the game. I feel like I could have broke it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I feel like I could have broke it, and I remember just sitting there on the ground, pounding the ground. I was like, man, my foot was better. I'm gone. So,
yep.
But
Yeah.
you know what, man? We made it happen, man. You know, I remember in the tunnel coming out to the field. Uh, and you know how like this is funny that we saw it like how Michael Jordan always talked about don't piss him off.
Mm-hmm.
Make Jordan mad, you wake up, the best in him.
That's
and that's
right.
what happened before that game. We were in the tunnel, and the University of Illinois guys were like poking at us, like making fun, talking trash. And we used that to.
They made a huge mistake.
Sometimes the bully got to get bullied.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, we had some bullies on our line too. That's the thing on that game. I mean, having like Taasi Faumui and those guys that on the line and like.
I told the guys. We talked to the other team after the game. I said that was y'all mistake right there. I said these Samoan guys ain't no punks. These Polynesian guys they ain't soft, man. And all you did was you pissed them off, all right? And they pissed us off for disrespecting us. So at that point, we were out to prove the point. And Coach Johnson and the whole entire coaching staff, they put together a great game plan. It's about ball control, limiting them to opportunities. Our defense stepped up and played a great game. I'm going to tell everybody, all right? Everybody, all right? A lot of people get credit for the success of that team. I'm going to tell everybody, there's one person that was on that team, all right? And if he was part of that team more years, I believe we win at least another championship. And that was our free safety, Brian Addison.
Wow.
That young man right there, go back and look at our games in 1991, in 1990, right? And watch how many times we got beat on deep passes over the middle. Guys, our secondary missing tackles. Go look at how that changed in 1992 when we got Brian Addison back. That man right there, man, he earned my respect in practice every day. I didn't even like going over the middle, messing around in practice, And sometimes they say, right, the reason why coaches want practice to be competitive is because that translates over to games.
Yes.
But when you got a team, like if you're offense and you're going against a good defense, your offense should be better against other opponents.
Exactly.
And when you got a guy like Brian Addison and what he brought to the middle of that defense in the secondary, not only was he a headhunter, but he'll lay you out, but he had the speed and the range to go from sideline to sideline and make big plays. He had the mentality of a quarterback. In high school, he was a quarterback. Okay? So that helped him to understand formations and what types of things, what kind of route combinations that teams like to do. So if there's anybody, man, like people like myself get a lot of credit. Jason Eden, of course, gets a lot of credit. Michael Carter gets a lot of credit. The offensive line gets a lot of credit. Travis Sims gets a lot of credit. Tanabasa, but man, Brian Addison, that dude right there deserves just as much credit as anybody because he brought to that defense what we had been missing for a long time, and that was leadership in the secondary. And without him back there, we don't win in 1992. No doubt about it. We do not win. We do not complete what we were brought to do at the University of Hawaii, which is the win championship. That don't happen without him.
That's incredible. Well, that's a great story. That is an era of UH football that will always be elevated in our memories. But also, what you talked about and you tapped on was that experience of being in the stadium and the type of relationship you had with the fan base, and that is something that we can only hope to emulate again and also to build upon because the players today deserve it as well. I mean, our boys won 10 games last year and didn't even get Probably, I don't think 44,000 in 2 games combined would have been hard for any 2 games they picked this year. And it's hard because this is where, like you said, when you come to this program and you feel that pride, this is that attachment is what brought you to Hawaii and that feeling of being here. So we can only hope to continue to share your legacy with the next recruits. But I just wanted to send our mahalo out to you, Darrick, for joining us. And we're going to look forward to hearing what you have in store in the future, because I don't think the Darrick Branch story is over quite yet either.
No, I don't think so either. When you as you accomplish things in life, you realize there's more. It's all about. I think all of us want to be remembered when we're all, done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's with sport or life in general. So as long as I feel like I'm part of something that's meaningful, historical,
Mm-hmm.
It can benefit somebody else. I'm always willing to stick my head in there and check it out. But before we do go, I do want to say, hey, all the people out there that are taking care of, out there on the front line taking care of us, police officers, the firemen. My sister's a nurse, which is another reason why I'm so adamant about us taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not subjecting ourselves to any more of this stuff that we need to. But you guys are our real heroes, for real.
Absolutely.
For years, teachers, everybody who's out there still working and playing a part. Garbage collectors. Everybody that's still out here keeping our cities and our states safe and clean and healthy. We owe so much gratitude to you guys. We owe you guys an apology.
Mm-hmm.
Because for years, all of our attention, all of the accolades, all of the props, all of the money have been going to people who are now leaning on you.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
To help us, to save us, to keep us safe. And I hope when all this is over, I hope starting right now, they start getting what they're worth, what they're due.
Yes.
These are the people that we should realize now that these are the people that should be our heroes, our highest paid employees, if that's what you want to look at.
Absolutely.
Our highest, most highest paid service industry people. These people are the ones that deserve everything that we have. So I just want to say thank you so much. You risk your lives for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot that some of us don't even have the courage to do. So hats off to you. Continue to give to them. What I do want to say, if there's any organizations out there here in the state of Hawaii, if you're listening anywhere, I know a lot of people out there. I know a group of people who are out of Montreal, a company that if you need masks,
mm-hmm.
if you need all the medical guard to protect yourself while you're out there protecting people. Just an example, I have access to a company that has over 200 million masks, medical masks.
Wow.
All right. That we can bring into the state of Hawaii. All right. It's not free, but I guarantee you it's going to be cheaper than if you buy it anywhere else on the retail market.
Yeah.
Right. So if there's people out there that need help, I've been challenging a lot of celebrities and professional athletes to help raise money so that we can buy this material and donate it to hospitals and different facilities that need it to take care of people. So if there's anybody out there that can help us accomplish these things and provide these people with the equipment to protect themselves so they can continue to take care of us, please reach out. I'm just a bridge. I'm not the person that actually is supplying it all, but I'm just a bridge that can connect to people so that we can provide them with the things that they need. So you can hit me up on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, on Instagram, or you can also email me at dbranch@afl-china.com. But I just want to make sure that we have everything we need so that we can make it through this safely. We can keep everybody safe. We can keep those first responders safe, so that every day that people can go home to their families, be loved on by the people that love them and appreciate them the most.
Absolutely. That's some real talk from Darrick Branch. And stay safe out there. To our first responders, really those ones on the front line that we don't really give all of the accolades to sometimes, our nurses, our teachers, our garbage collectors who are out there doing everything that most of us wouldn't be willing to do as well. And that's one thing. Sometimes it's the people on our fringes, those that we exploit the most of, are the ones that are really taking the bulk of the burden of this at this time. But we want to send out mahalo, Darrick Branch.
That includes the people at all the grocery stores that are working.
Yep.
Costco, Sam's Club, all the way to Tomorrow's.
Yep, right? All the way to Tomorrow's, exactly.
Hey, you're supplying the things that we need to make it every day. Walmart, Target, you guys are essential to our lives. Without
Absolutely.
You guys, we go back to living off the land. Some of us have to deal with that. So, hey, Hawaiians, come teach us city folks how to live off the land.
That's right. We need to go back to that. I highly recommend people growing more of their food right now, especially in Hawaii. But we've had a great time.
I got some basil. Right here. Some basil.
You're gonna make some pesto for us?
Oh, this is oregano. All right.
Oh, we got oregano, we got paste. We got all kinds in Hawaii, and we're lucky to be surrounded by great sunshine, and hopefully we'll all take that to mind as well. But keep in touch, Darrick Branch. He's a great bridge, like he said, for those that want to make a difference. So please reach out to him. And just mahalo for spending your time with us, Darrick. And I know a lot of people just had a lot of fun tonight going down memory lane with you. But we'll talk to you again, all right? And take care. We'll talk to you again. Aloha.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate it. Y'all be safe.